With us today, we have Mario Meir-Huber, who is an author of, or co-author of the Handbook, Data Science and AI, very prominent book in the German-speaking world on machine learning and data analytics. And someone with rich experience in academia and also in an executive role running data and governance and data analytics topics in the Austrian corporate world. So I'm very happy to have Mario with me today and just talk about, data-driven culture. What is it? What it's probably not, and what are interesting things that are happening in the data space with a slight Austrian twist to it. So hi there and welcome to our office. Great to have you with us today.
Hi, Ivo, and hi, everyone watching us today and listening to us today.
So, tell me a few things about you. Present yourself to our listeners.
Okay, yeah, so I'll try to be brief. So the last 5 years, I was working in executive roles in telco and financial services, basically running the data teams on board level and building up the data strategy, data culture, and everything associated with it. So not a purely technical role. It was more a cultural transformation role, I would say. And yeah, so this is my background. Before that, I was at a couple of years at Microsoft, where I was also in the data and analytics field. And other than teaching and researching that at universities, I co-authored this book, and also talking frequently at international conferences such as We Are Developers, Chitex in Dubai, or London Tech Week. So those are the bigger ones, and a couple of others. Yeah, so this is it in a nutshell. Of course, I could talk about what I've been doing forever, but we don't want to bore out the people.
No, I think people are trying to very interested because oftentimes when you talk to someone, once you know that they have this rich background and understanding, you tend to have a different appreciation for what they're saying. And you were an absolute expert on these topics. So let me go straight into what is data culture. Is this just something? It's just one of those hype things, like meaning nothing, or is there something behind it that has actual substance?
So that's a really tough question, I would say, because what is a data culture? I want to refer to a book I really liked, which I read about basically digital transformation. It was the book by Satya Nadella on how he transformed Microsoft to moving from this Windows-based company to the cloud company. When he wrote about culture, the first statement was you can't summarize it in one chapter. That's tough because culture is you can write books about it, and you can write a lot of literature, a lot of books about culture. So answering this, what is culture? It's really tough. I would say let's try to focus on a couple of aspects. So I would say wrong culture is definitely when you just focus on delivering data-driven use cases. A lot of people claim this is data culture if you deliver data-driven use cases. In my opinion, this is the output. This is the output what the culture can deliver, the use cases. This is where you bring value to the company, of course, but there is so much that needs to be done to achieve the use cases. And if you have a culture that enables you to deliver the use cases, then you're probably on the right track.
Right. So that's kind of the end result. And by the way, Satya is just, if you could, he's the, I don't know, what I read recently, he's the Michael Jordan of of the IT world. I mean, someone that is so much better than everyone else. Apparently, got so many things right. And if you read his book, then obviously there's a lot to say, right?
Yeah, I would say as an Austrian, as you told me, we need to give it an Austrian twist. We would rather say he's either the Hermann Mayer or the Marcel Hirscher.
Well, I was thinking of Mateschitz, but okay.
Yeah, probably similar, yeah.
No, absolutely. And, as I remember, it's just a bit of a tangent, but I remember that, he came out of this cloud division, right?
Exactly.
When everyone is doing all these cool products,
exactly.
He's like, I'm running long game here. I know he's I think he's a leader. I mean, I don't, obviously I don't know him personally, but what it seems like he's such a leader that he's just such a quiet and calm, and not this, Elon Musk type of type
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
person. And now if they get their bed right with open AI,
That's massive.
my God, they are gonna be, you know. A couple of years ago, we were laughing about how Microsoft is cool again in the developer community, and now they're giving me like the absolute.
Yeah, I think when you talk about this OpenAI, because I really fancy this stuff, and it is impressive what they delivered and what the number of users actually take advantage of this right now. But if you look at what's coming this year, it's OpenAI is based on GPT-3, and now this year they will release GPT-4, which is I think 10 times as powerful or even more. So yeah, but let's get back to our topic of data culture. But I think this is also quite interesting. Yeah,
it is, because there's something pragmatic you can implement, right? You can say, well, you know, is my culture data driven, right? And if yes, what are the good parts in it that I can build on? If not, why not? What are some pragmatic examples that you can advise, let's say, a corporate to take to see whether they have the right culture in place?
So basically, you have if you see it as a quadrant-like thing, you have two axes on it. The first axis is where you build the business impact. Business impact can either be a strategic impact because you need to do it at some reason to support your business strategy,
right?
Or the other impact is monetary. So this is the one axis where you build the use cases on, and this is what most companies were focusing on, and they failed because they didn't look at the second axis. The second axis is the maturity you have in your company, and thus creating or reducing complexity.
Right.
So, for instance, if you have a lot of exciting use cases, a lot of great use cases you can deliver in your company, but you have this high complexity because your technical platforms are not built in a way that you can deliver.
Right.
Your culture is not there. Your people cannot deliver because of technical debt or governance problems. Then even a use case that could bring you potentially millions, you will never get it delivered. And this is why we need to look at the second axis. This is I call it complexity by maturity. So if you think in a quadrant on how you can deliver and how you can achieve stuff, you need to ensure that you have the use cases that you can map your use cases to the complexity you have. So go for the use cases with the lowest complexity, and in parallel try or work on reducing complexity. That's culture, because you need to identify how you can reduce the complexity. You can reduce it by improving your architecture. So I would focus there on going on the cloud, but not just moving a Hadoop cluster to a cloud-based Hadoop cluster. Both of us have some common legacy on that topic, which gave us sleepless nights, I guess, and and also ensuring that you have a proper culture, a proper governance in place, and governance like where are your data stewards, how do you access the data, how can you improve access to data. This is all playing into that. And last but not least, you need to ensure that you have a proper skill development in your company, so that you can say, okay, we need people to do this or that. So we need to skill them, not just giving them the tools, but also giving them the know-how to use the tools. This is
Right.
This is the complexity.
So it reduces the complexity from the technology side, but there also are other parts of this, basically taking with you the entire organization and upskilling folks to work with the tools, because otherwise it stays this isolated proof of concept.
Exactly.
Smart people doing something that actually doesn't really move the needle, kind of stuff. Yeah. And they joke about it. They were like, "Oh, is this your AI? Ha ha ha!"
And then they say like, "Okay, this is people in the ivory tower building some ivory-based solutions." Yeah,
but it shouldn't be the case. I mean, this shouldn't be the. I mean, this one thing to add here is that oftentimes you'd have these legacy systems, right? And legacy culture and legacy people. And I think the easiest to change is the legacy. The legacy culture and the legacy people aren't your enemy; they're your friend.
Yeah, and
they're super knowledgeable most stuff. You just have to take them, but you do have to have conscious efforts to take them with you on this journey, and not say, "Oh, you know nothing." We bring in these newer folks that are better at everything, but kind of integrate them into what you do, so that they continue to deliver.
Yeah, exactly. Take them out of the comfort zone and take them on the way with you, because they are smart. They are legacy,
and they know the business, right?
They know the business, and they are smart. And I met so many smart people in those legacy culture. You just need to enable them, and you
Exactly.
just need to take them with you, and you need to grab them and say like, okay, this is a cool new stuff, and then they start to, okay, the cool new stuff, I could use it for my I like using it, and then they're getting much more performant than the cool guys you bring in, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, the companies that do this mistake. They're bringing, oh yeah, we'll just have a couple of 25-year-olds running Python, and they will just be better at everything than your
Yeah.
actually your qualified engineers working for 20 years at the company have ever done. Well, that's the wrong way to look at
That's
it.
absolutely the wrong way, yeah. And like hiring and building up this, I saw it so often. Companies are building and hiring up those super overstuffed teams, which then eventually just work on a couple of POCs, and after a couple of years, what's their impact? There's no impact.
Right, exactly.
I've seen that so often, and they give them like a work in a remote environment outside of the corporate headquarters. We give you a garage type startup like setup. Doesn't work.
If they ever brought in a football table, then they should be. You should, if you're an exec listening to this,
Yeah.
change this. No, this is not great.
Yeah.
Now, coming back to your university research, this can you tell us a bit more about this quadrant? This is basically you looked at this, thought about it as like a framework in a basically scientifically sound way to approach this problem.
Exactly. So basically, when I started doing this data topic, I'm working in this topic already for more than a decade, so I'm not new in this topic. But when
we should bring you some 25-year-old Python people to.
Please go. No, I'm teaching them at university, so I know them, and they are fun to work with. But just kidding, no jokes beside. No, whenever you when I started doing this, it was, I would say, chaotic. Not because I'm a chaotic mind. I would say I'm really structured, but there was little know-how, little like how you can approach this topic. And so I was talking with a friend of mine who is running at the Institute of Information Systems at the WU Wien. So a pretty good business university, and so the first thing I did, like I started.
They're the best. Yeah. I did a degree there, so
okay.
Yeah. Veil for the win.
I did it at Linz, so I cannot relate, but I know that Axel is a cool guy, so I like working with him. And so, like 5 years ago, I started to teach at the Executive Academy, where the WU Wien is running the Executive Master Program, the MBA program for data science. So basically educating executives.
I was like, are we in China? We're not.
No, I was just mixing up the semantics of the two words and the correct order. So basically educating executives on data strategy, data science, and I started to teach there. And then we came to this point where we say like, okay, we need to build some specific or like some really sound research on a topic, and this is what we're currently doing there at the WU. We are researching the topic of data strategy and building a framework on how you can become data driven. Our goal is to like have a really straightforward way, like what needs to be done in a specific area, like architecture, governance, culture. Right. And then you can score yourself. This is our goal, that you can score yourself. Okay, I'm at level 2. I need to go to level 3 next, 4, 5, and so on.
And then you identify and you go down the rabbit holes whenever you need to work on.
Yes,
in more detail. I think it's a great methodology from what you explained. Based on the fact that otherwise everyone tries to kind of reinvent the wheel on this. And how sure are you that your approach is kind of a sound approach, someone that someone else could verify and say, well, this is great. It's most of the stuff that we've seen on that is largely vendor driven. So a vendor comes in and says, well, you're gonna have to adapt your data strategy if you're buying into our world. Then here's how we do data strategy. And that might not be the greatest thing for various reasons. But also because the lock-in is the obvious one. But then it's more like how would you like to change your culture? That the vendor would not give you a recipe for that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's vendor driven, and this is it has some background, of course, and some strategy from the vendor side in it. So the flavor is there. Yeah.
I just love how we hate all the vendors. It's just listening to well, it's different, right? If you're from the corporate side, if for example you get invited, you get invited to conferences to speak. Everyone is interested in what you have to say because you get put into that client's bucket, right?
Yeah.
Into that buyer's bucket. But once you turn into a vendor, or you do consulting, then suddenly, you have your one-sided way of looking. It's like, no, not really. I mean, quite the opposite. It's not really true all the time, but what we mean here by vendor is like if you're pushing a particular platform strategy, like if you're GCP or if you're Microsoft driven. Well, obviously, even the three major vendors have slightly different approach to this.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's also the question how we approach this topic in Austria, and I think we have some sort of maturity level here in Austria, which I could flavor. So,
what do you think about the state of data technology at major Austrian companies?
Very much depends. So there are some, I would say, not hidden champions, but there are some companies which are at a very good level. They are rather rare. The majority of Austrian companies is still struggling to grasp this topic. So basically, they are trying to figure out how to approach data. Then we have this statement in Austria, that when we don't know how to start, we just build a work group, and then the work group is working for 1.5 years, bringing a PowerPoint, and then there is okay, we still don't know it.
With the output, don't touch a running system.
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
great.
So that's why we are currently doing a really big research in Austria together with LSZ. That's a large executive conference and executive insights provider. And we're doing this really big research on what's the status level of fostering companies in terms of data, in terms of data architecture, and so on. So we're basically targeting all the different points which I just mentioned in a couple of sentences before. So it's comprehensive and bringing some really good insights into what's the real status of data in Austrian companies. So.
Right. My guess was if I definitely see a discrepancy here. I see the fact that you would, companies that have the money to invest. Well, they just two things. Well, first of all, they overinvested in other technologies, and they're saying, hey, we just had a data strategy 7 years ago. It's brand new, right? Well, yeah. I mean, we did this Hadoop thing. It's 3 years ago was the best project. Yeah. Why are you telling me you have to change now?
I mean,
and you're like, well, for a variety of reasons, and if they're actually, and that brings me to the conclusion that if they actually were to follow this framework and kind of reevaluate, reassess the maturity level, it also decays over time. You cannot say I'm 4 and then I'm good to go, right?
Yeah. I mean, so our approach in this research is definitely like technology changes fast. We are in a very, very dynamic market, and like if you say, okay, I'll do this evaluation once, I'm at 4, I'm all fine, I'm set. Like next year, you could already be with the same answers if you don't change on level 3. So you could go down one level, because if you don't move forward while the technology moves forward, you move backward. So that's a matter of fact. And we are bringing this into our governance and into this research, so that it constantly changes, it constantly evolves. So doing a data strategy like this huge hundreds of thousands of euros projects, this time is over. You don't go to the big consulting companies like you name them, BCG, the Mackies, and so on and so forth, and then you pay hundreds of thousands of euros of doing a data strategy. No, you're not set with that, because 1 year later, a new thing evolves. Just look at how fast OpenAI changed the entire space, and let's look at what it will change this year. So half a year is nothing. That's like things are moving so fast.
That's why you can do this. I had a previous guest that we're discussing. You don't do this, 7 month, 12-month RFP, RFI kind of stuff. This is in the data space, in the software technology world. This is just way too long for you to to take it. It's like you're buying a machine where will run for 5 years, and it's hardware, it'll depreciate. But even there, I think there's a lot speaking against such a slow process. Yeah, that's absolutely the case. What I think, like OpenAI, once we get to the point where we have an API to this open AI, it can integrate into various things. Will this kind of, like, how do you see this playing out in reality? And like think about an Austrian bank, an Austrian insurance company, an Austrian energy company.
I think there's so many points where OpenAI will bring impact and benefits into our world and also into our corporate world. And there's already this OpenAI is working on a premium version of it. So of course they know how to monetize it. They want to monetize it sooner or later. And I think as companies we will see this API which they are offering now. So at some point you have to pay for it. I'm pretty sure about it.
Yeah.
And then you can leverage the benefits. So just imagine what it will do to our call centers. Like all the companies which in banking, in telco, and so on and so forth. Everybody who is facing the customer, and hopefully this is doing almost every company, they have call centers, they have customer support, and the customer support is I don't want to be rude, but it's really crappy.
Man, it's gone so bad.
And
it's gone so bad after Corona. Yeah. It's gotten horrible.
Yeah, I often have this opinion like, okay, customer support, no, we don't want to support our customers. So just trying to hide all ways on how to contact so that you just buy the stuff and shut up. Sorry for stating this. But I often have this feeling that companies just want you to buy the stuff and then don't create any problems for the company because...
I have since this is a podcast, we can allow ourselves a bit of humor. I have a proxy for this. And this is, if no one can claim they've made it in life if they ever have to call a hotline about anything. Or you're the board member of whatever organization making 1 million plus per year. Do you ever call hotlines? Yes. Well, do you work harder? You're not there yet. No, jokes aside, I think the major implication would be to kind of, you will just use less FTE in the growth because if you have integrated into your workflows, into your systems in a way where your existing people can have this AI functionality side by side and automate just be more productive, I think.
I mean, what my experience...
You should equip them with these bots, or the functionality provided by these bots, and they can do more.
The funny thing is, whenever you talk to a bot, there is an easy trick because you immediately...
Just wanted to mention, so sorry to... the desk is kind of wobbling with the cameras, and that's why I'm kind of...
okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Please go ahead. Okay. So
now, whenever you talk to a bot and you immediately figure this out, I think this will change with OpenAI because it's so smart, but still right now, you immediately feel it that you're talking to a bot. So whenever you're talking to a bot, what I'm doing is I'm writing stupid bot, and then I'm immediately getting connected to second level support because then the AI is written in a way that it tells you, okay, I can't answer the human's questions, so I'll forward to a second level. So this is an easy way to get across the bots. The thing is that bots often do not give you real great feedback at the moment. I'm absolutely sure that OpenAI with ChatGPT, this is going to change. So when I was playing a lot with ChatGPT, and I was recently just writing a blog post about a data science algorithm, and then I asked OpenAI ChatGPT to write me a blog about this data science algorithm, and I read over it and I said, I could use this as well. It's written so perfectly well. And really understands everything. And
exactly.
For my daughter, she was giving me 3 keywords. That she wants to have a good night story where there are elves. There's a pumuckl. This is something typical Austrian. And the third one, I think it was a unicorn, and where she's playing the main role. And I gave ChatGPT those parameters, and it
this is just another level.
And she was like, "Wow,
what a great
really
story!
Cool story." Then I asked ChatGPT to write it in the way Kafka would do it.
Nice. You could write the same story for an executive board meeting.
Exactly.
A friend of mine called me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, well, I you're a pilot and love aviation. Now my daughter has to do a study for like last year at school here at the gymnasium. About comparing Boeing to Airbus and how a company would select aircraft from either." And I was like, "That is the perfect question to ask ChatGPT. Just ask ChatGPT, and it'll directly output the way you can copy and paste it there. I'm not endorsing this, but this is this. If it's based on knowledge, we know this is trained so well to answer this kind of question. Then you really don't need to think about it. You just need to kind of the skills are going to move to, review it and make sure the skills are going to be like. Are you asking the right questions for it to kind of prepare the output for you? So it's like you're working with this as if you had someone to write it for you, immediately upskilling you kind of from a doer to a manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, from like a team lead.
I think what also will give us ChatGPT a lot of impact towards culture. Coming back to the cultural aspect, because it's becoming much more used in the broad masses. So students that are not techies start to use it. People that are not in technology start to use it because they see the benefits of it. So imagine how this is going to change our society and how this is eventually popping back to our companies, to the business units. So when business units are using AI on a daily basis, what would it mean eventually for data units, for IT units?
It's interesting how think about a data team. What the data team does, or like think of a data-driven organization, like when you have people in business side, product owners, all sorts of operations people, you're working with them, trying to like so many of the tasks are not as complex, but if you have to do them across the board, it'll take you use up a lot of time. For example, think data governance. How that could be automated. As I said, various companies working various technologies, but they're all highly specific. But what about just getting a good grip on your on a PII, making sure that if you use and propagate this PII into other schemas, out of blah blah, it all gets properly tagged with the proper access policies and masking everything. Think of various things. If you I know there's various technologies supporting this, but it's not really up to a point where you could just use it in such a generic way to say, ChatGPT or whatever tool, let's write this analysis, but it's an analysis in a way when I'm just the output of this asking a question to be one chart, but to be like one chart in a PowerPoint with a bit of argumentation on the right, split it into just the way you direct like a junior employee to do this analysis for you, right? Great. I need a presentation with these figures, split it this and that, use this language now, use that level of detail, and they just go with it and then tweak it, and they could do it in 2 hours, what it probably takes 3 days to do.
Yeah, I think this is also like definitely improving the way how we do stuff in management nowadays, because you don't need those juniors to do the work again, and then you can just ask ChatGPT, you get the feedback immediately. Imagine what this will give us. This is
there's various ethical aspects about it. If you were to train it on the corporate communications, tell me who the formal leaders are. What are they talking about? Well, there's there's so various ways to misuse it, right? The more powerful a weapon is, the more uses you can have for it.
This background.
So it's a dual use technology, right? But I'm certainly very excited for it to come to the corporate world. It'll just, I think, finally, there will be a point, even when traditional companies, where they can no longer shield themselves from integrating this kind of technology into their operations, and that will bring an inevitable, we connect by API. What else do we have as an API? Oh, we have this huge monolith that so it'll basically finally, I think, complete the cycle of what digital transformation is. In a lot of ways. So very excited to see how that plays out.
Exactly, and it will change the culture a lot. That's what I'm pretty sure about.
Yeah, I mean, imagine it's like, but you could use it for for it to write simple scripts and simple code. Yeah, but someone still needs to understand that code. It'll help a lot of people get super quick up to speed with solving tasks in the likes of scripting languages, because it'll just give you the initial suggestion. And I think we are safe, right? For now, in our business of basically creating data teams, providing data services, but the way these services are used is going to massively change.
Absolutely, yeah.
And and that brings me back to kind of close the art on Austria. Well, maybe it's not a bad thing that we're kind of just sitting in the sidelines and waiting it out, because you just never, you just will never have done, I don't know, copper cables. You go directly to Starlink, right? You just keep one technology cycle. It's actually exactly what happened with this first generation big data technology, right? If you went super early, super deep into this and haven't changed it, well, now you're locked out with a very complicated, very expensive, out of date technology, even though it's 3 to 4 years old.
Yeah, definitely. So when we look at the cycles, how it evolved, like when we had a couple of years ago Hadoop, like everybody was going on Hadoop, and everybody was like, "Go on Hadoop, you can. It's the right decision to do." If you're in a consulting project today, would you consult anyone to go on Hadoop?
I will not say about this because we have existing customers. But yeah, look,
I mean, it's probably not.
If you're an executive listening to this, you probably should be getting out of Hadoop. If someone is telling you, "Wow, but we know for us, for this," no. Honestly, just think about getting out. It's cheaper, it's better, unless you have a super specialized use case, or the economics in your case are very, very, very particular. It just doesn't make sense to do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Basically,
you subscribe to this statement? Yeah.
I'm fine with the statement.
It's okay if you've done it. No. I think we should. That doesn't mean that it was wrong that you did it in the first place.
Yeah, but this is what I just said before. Technology is moving so fast, and if you stay and say like, okay, I'm on 4, I can stay with that because it's a very comfortable solution. 1 year later, probably it's not the best solution anymore. But when we look at how it evolved, eventually, like Hadoop as a technology is probably going to decrease in popularity, but the concepts of it will stay.
Of course.
The concepts it evolved into Spark, and when we look at what's now available in the cloud, it's built on the ideas we had back then with Hadoop. It's built on that. So you are not wrong because you did it. It's just probably the technology is not
just don't do MapReduce jobs anymore the way you did it in past.
But still, like, you gathered a lot of experience as a company. Your people gathered a lot of experience, and they can move to the new stack, which is more powerful. Like, we can compare it back to ChatGPT. It's now giving you with this new tool of ChatGPT, but the same thing happens in the data space, in data architecture. Then you just don't need to throw away what you did before. You can but you can have tools which are more powerful. You can do the same thing in less time with more precision, much more to the point. But you can only do it if you know what you have to do.
Exactly.
You cannot do this fancy BigQuery stuff, this fancy data mesh stuff if you didn't do Hadoop before, because you need to grasp the know-how. You need to have the know-how, and the know-how is the one that stays. Whenever you do something, you gather know-how, and this is the most important thing. So when anyone asks me, should I start with this technology or that technology? Of course, like, I have a specific mind and specific thinking. What's the best technology right now? But you should just start. That's the most important thing. Just start, do it, because then you learn. And you're not going to learn because you're just making PowerPoints of what would be the right strategy. So if you're just making PowerPoints of what would be the right strategy, you do this for 2 years and you have not gained any technical or any in-depth knowledge, and you
but that's the accumulating nature of this knowledge goes, and the way that you have this constant change goes against the corporate momentum of most companies, where the point is to build your own castle, defend it, make sure you control you plug in the access points, and you run it till you retire, right? I mean, honestly, that's what a lot of people do. It's not, and for the companies, for the CEOs, they recognize that, if you have this running in your company in the data space, just undo it right away. And the project that you mentioned is a sure strategy to build upon the existing knowledge. And add forward. And then BigQuery, even there, in the future, you just write a select statement, and then in SQL use the model that you want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or maybe in the future even integrate, ask ChatGPT, join with the ChatGPT output, right? Directly and this is where this is going, right? So the complexity of fintech. So you have to have the fundamental data architecture and the fundamental technologies in place for you to run it. but it'll open. You also cannot go from zero to hero. You need to
Exactly,
go
yeah.
this entire length. Which brings me to a kind of a more pragmatic. What are key things, takeaways, suggestions for implementing a data strategy? Imagine the target audience for this would be, well, let's say you have a few data engineers, a few, some data warehouse of some sort, some analysts, working with some BI tools. Your typical average company. What would you suggest is a step one in order?
And so I would basically ask the
Right.
question if those are the right people, the right amount of people, because if you only talk to engineers, you will have a technical data strategy. So you will have architecture, probably pretty fine. But what about the other aspects of culture? So you need to have a much more diverse batch of people. But I think this was not your question. Your question was on how to start doing things. So
Yeah, what are immediate pointers to say? Well, that's actually no. But you're partly answering. That's one aspect is to say, do I have the right tech leadership for this?
Exactly, not just the tech leadership, but also the business leadership.
Yeah,
and
the
data,
business buy-in, data leadership, the right data leadership in a broader sense.
So, I'd like to give you a precise answer on that. I'm a very I would say stereotypical Austrian. I like skiing and I like hiking and I like mountains. So when I'm hiking somewhere, my first thing is to like position myself on the map. Where am I right now? If I want to go up to this peak, I need to know where I'm standing right now. Then I need to understand which path do I take. But first is, where do I start from? So I need to have my status quo. Where am I placed? What's the current state of my data landscape? So you need to understand this as a company. Where am I standing right now? What are the business demands, the business use cases? What is your current technology? What is your current tech stack? What is your governance? And from those set of questions, once you have answered them, and this can be done really fast because it's a standard thing to do to run such queries in the company. Once you have this set, you can align, okay, what are my strategic objectives and how do I get to this peak? How do I get to the summit on the mountain? And in this sense, you just need to understand what is your current standpoint. Where are you placed on the map? And then how can you get to the peak? This is the strategy which you derive from that. So first is the understanding the status quo, in my opinion. This is very important.
This
because otherwise you get lost
kind of this
on the map.
OODA loop approach, right? You need to orient yourself first where you were standing if you want to know where you need to go and what action to take, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And that's a very good structured approach, way to think about it. And oftentimes, if you aren't really sure, you might need external help, right? You might need a benchmark, another set of eyes. It's one of the clear, I think, value added of to make a bit of advertising here, but people like us, right? I mean, you would like to get challenged from the outside perspective and say, not because your people or your process or your tools are bad, but because you need to align with what's out there right now that is a good practice. And that's you don't get it through a quick YouTube video. You need someone to bring you this outside perspective of how the market
work with you, challenge you, and how I say it, to mentor and coach you.
Right.
So I do believe that like a large chunk of work needs to happen internally from the company, from the people that know the company. But everyone who is successful has a good coach. So this is what you can do with an external help. Having a good coach that can challenge you, that already had some learnings, made some errors, so that you don't redo them. So this is very important as well.
Right, and the point of saying you have an A team, they still might need benefit highly from challenging some of their assumptions. And the it is a different mindset, I would say, to how most of the stuff otherwise in a traditional company setting is done, right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, what's your what's your what's your plan for taking this quadrant and you're learning from the academic research into I mean, I mentioned your book. Maybe you could say a few words about your book. How do you plan on building upon that knowledge and using it?
Yeah. No, so basically, I would say there are quite a lot of things which will happen in the next couple of months, which I cannot all of them yet disclose. But with the VU we are working on, of course, like formulating, making this more precise and much more understandable. At the same time, we are also implementing this strategic approach in already a couple of companies, like lightweight, of course. So working with them on bringing this, testing that, and improving that model. But on the same side, giving the companies a clear benefit so that they have this structured approach to data. So this is one of the things we are constantly improving this model, and we will also publish papers on this model. So there is a lot happening in the next couple of months, I would say. And the model is becoming much more detailed, much more specific to being used in the different industries. And I can basically ask each and everyone to approach us, to approach the two of us on that, because we're also working on that together, and to see how they can leverage and benefit from this model.
Excellent. I think that's that's a sensible way for companies to up their game without you also want to be well as less disruptive. You know, not as disruptive as you'd otherwise be if you just bring in someone and say, okay, let's turn this upside down.
Exactly.
Let's that's the cool. Yeah. Based on a company, you either do nothing or you completely turn it upside down. It's yeah.
You need to find a middle way. Yeah, and also
exactly.
Also, like, sorry, I didn't answer your second topic about the book. Also, I cannot disclose too much yet, but we are at the moment. It's already the second version of the book, which improved greatly, because like 2 years ago we had some 240 pages. Now we have plus almost 500 pages, so it became much more comprehensive, much more like packed with know-how. And it's now also available the first time in English. It used to be a German book only.
Yeah.
Now it's available in English, and we're also already working on version 3, but I cannot disclose much yet, and it will be super. That's the only thing I can tell you about the book.
Awesome stuff. I think everyone is eager to soak up this knowledge and apply. The data community is has some great people, especially since the understanding. What I like about this space is that it just requires such a understanding of the technology. You need to understand the underlying technology, at least to a certain degree. You need to understand the business context. You need to understand the corporate context. And in order for you to kind of, when reading a book like yours, all of you have basically the whole depth, the whole scope, but also a lot of depth for each individual topic, so you can take it and run with it and say, okay, that's a good starting point. If you deep dive,
I think this is the key aspect why we did this book in the way we did it. We had a lot of co-authors. It's not just built by 2 or 3 authors. We had, like, you can look at the list how many people worked into that. So our approach was like having the best people for the dedicated topic, and having them write about their know-how. And this is, I think, something which we were really good in. We had this first, the concept, or we were afraid of like having 10 different types of how people write, but then we came to the conclusion, okay, this is our benefit. It's written by people that know how to do it, and you cannot be an expert for each single topic. So we have the experts co-writing the book, co-authoring the book. So we said, like, okay, it's okay to have different styles of how you write your chapter, because we need to outline this diversity we have in the book and this deep level of knowledge.
I will link a non-affiliate link just for everyone to read. This Handbook, Data Science and AI, it's the English translation but it's if you're German speaking, you can already grab the book. It's an amazing.
But I can
handbook.
also link to the English version because there's both versions are available on Amazon.
Oh,
so,
okay, perfect. Then correction, we'll link both versions in the link below. It's it's a very good read. I like everything written in a handbook kind of style where I could just pick up the topic that I want and not just
exactly
not just read the whole novel in order to get a point across. It's yeah, and it's as I said, it's a complex world out there. There's what do I do streaming? Do I not? How far am I on? What do I need a data warehouse for? What I need a feature store for? What I need a this and that for? What do I do with the 25-year-old Python people and the and the 55-year-old engineers that actually know how this thing works? It's just so many aspects to it that you need to do as a leader. But yeah, I think one takeaway from what you're saying is that regardless of how good you are, you need you benefit from a mentor, from a sparring partner to challenge your thoughts. Especially if you especially if you've done it for a long time and think you got this, right? Because the field is evolving so much, because there's so much new research comes out that will probably go against your immediate intuition about how to approach things. That's what we love about the data space. It's interesting. It's a very interesting space. What do you think differs from let's say if you look at let's move away from data space and say, well, you have this we have this classic just one question, we're wrapping this up. It's, if you think about the classic software engineering people, right? Developers, maybe DevOps, already classic profile, and architecture people, and suddenly how does their thinking differ from the data thinking right now? And how are they the same, or where you shouldn't draw these boundaries so hard?
First of all, I think routing these boundaries too hard is wrong, because eventually all of that is digitalization. Of course, like if you worked with both, which I did, you do see some differences. So what I see is that often, unfortunately, the data topic is lagging behind in terms of applying new things. So when we look at building monoliths versus microservices, microservices has been around the classical software engineering for already years. It was like it's status quo, and it's well accepted. Talking about microservices in the data field, it just came around with the data mesh, and it was a couple of years late. When we talk about the cloud, the last workloads often to go on the cloud were data specific workloads. So it was like Hadoop was built for an on-premise world when the entire world was shifting on the cloud. So we are lacking a little bit behind. I would say this is
data ops is the same story.
Data ops is the same story. DevOps has been here for quite a while. Now we start to talk about data ops. So I would say the data topic is lagging behind. Then the other software engineering topic. Other than that, I would say, okay, there are some specifics, how people approach, how people do stuff, and data, of course, is very mathematical. So the people are different from time to time. So this is it's like you will find the differences definitely if you look closely into that.
All right. Well, that's been a great 15-minute talk with you, Mario, today.
Thanks.
Super. We covered so many things, so very interesting. We will link your German and English version of the book below, and we're very glad to have you, and looking forward to working with you also in other things. So full disclosure,
me as well.
So great to have this research also happening in Austria, and I mean, Austria has a couple of cool tricks up our sleeve. We are advanced in various other ways. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
And see you, everyone. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.